There's a lot of couples out there
Right.
are always wondering, did I marry my soulmates? But for people who are in a relationship, in a marriage where they feel alone because their partner has checked out.
Okay.
They have checked out. They've done everything.
Right.
There's nothing that is bringing their partner back.
This is Chat Over Popcorn, brought to you by Aspire Media and Marketing, hosted by Angela Ansa. Subscribe to our social media networks and follow the conversations on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Chat Over Popcorn, where the conversations run deep, starts now.
Welcome to Chat Over Popcorn, where the conversations run deep. My name is Angela Ansa, your host for the show. Tonight's show is about the effects our marriage has on our emotional wellness. Joining me to discuss this very important topic is the one and only Reverend Dr. Henry Asante Ganza. Pastor Ganza is the district pastor at the Church of Pentecost, Harrisburg Districts. He holds a master's degree in divinity and a PhD in global strategic leadership. Pastor Ganza is married to his lovely wife of 25 years, and together they are blessed with 3 handsome sons. Pastor Ganza, welcome to Chat Over Popcorn.
Thank you very much, Angela. Always good to be at Chat Over Popcorn, and it's great to be here. But before we set the ball rolling, I want to give appreciation to God and also for the fact that you've positioned yourself to be a possessor of one of the 7 mountains of God. The Bible talks about the 7 mountains of God in Isaiah chapters 2, that in the last day, the mountain of God will be raised on top of the mountains. That means that the foundation for the house of God is the 7 mountains. And guess what the 7 mountains are?
Tell me.
We start with family, education, media. Once again, media, arts. Then it goes to government, business, and religion. And you are breaking through in the media realm.
Oh, thank
Kudos
you. Thank you.
and
Thank
more
you.
grace.
I'm humbled. Thank you. Thank you. So before we dive deeper in our topic for the discussion, let's level set by going back in time as far as what the institution of marriage is really all about from a biblical standpoint. Let's start with that, and then we can dive into the emotional components of marriage.
Wonderful. That word, marriage. And I want to thank God that according to the Bible, marriage is not a human institution. It is a divine institution. That simply means that God himself, I don't want to say physically because God is the spirit, but God took the task without any help from anybody to institute marriage. So marriage is the oldest institution. So that tells you about the importance of marriage.
Yeah. And a lot of people really have the strongest desire to be married.
Right.
Marriage is this beautiful thing that so many people, especially when you reach certain age group, in your early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, you yearn to be married. So obviously there's something about marriage that so many people crave to be in. Unfortunately, however, a lot of people are not prepared for this institution, this grand institution, right? That is so beautiful, but at the same time can be so painful to live through if you do not marry the right person.
Right.
So let's talk about, the different emotions that we feel.
Right.
Anger, fear, frustration, joy, happiness, sadness, sorrow. All of these emotions that we go through.
That's right.
Did we get them from God?
Right. So the simple answer will be yes. And the reason is that he's the source of everything. So whatever we receive came from him. But then the question is, if you look at the topic, we say wellness, emotional wellness. That means that as much as emotion is good, It can go south or it can go north. God's intention is that it goes right in the center so that it is controlled and managed well for the well-being of humanity. So look, for example, at anger. There are numerous times in the Bible where God has been angry.
Mm-hmm. It's normal.
It's normal. I mean, can you imagine a partner who is just doesn't show any emotion? I mean, it's going to be the only place where there is no emotion are dead things. So emotions are very important, but we need to control it. Mm-hmm. We need to manage it so that it will serve the purpose for which it was created and given to us.
And I think that challenge, though, when it comes to just management of these emotions,
Right.
let's be practical. Women are very good at managing their emotions or even expressing their emotions, right? Women are really good at telling people how they feel. They have vocabularies, words to describe their feelings, whereas men just struggle with it.
Right.
And historically, our society do not even allow men to express their emotions.
Right.
A man expressing his emotion is seen as weak, is seen as, not even being this macho person, right? And so even men struggle to express their emotions. So when a marriage is between a man and a woman, right there, there's conflict.
That's right.
And is that where it stems from? Just because we are wired differently, and so, like you said, there are the healthy components of wellness, emotions, and then there is the when it goes south.
That's right.
So let's talk about just the way women and men expresses their emotions, the differences in that, and how that creates conflict in marriage.
Yeah. What comes to mind is this phrase, which is common out there, that men are from Mars and women are from Jupiter. So it's two different contrasts. And I've also learned that as much as men have 5 senses, women have 6.
Oh.
And the 6th one is the ability to get all 5 put together and work. So for example, a woman can walk in a room and just by her presence be able to feel it and know what is going on. A man always depend on their 5 senses. What they see, what they hear, what they taste, what they touch, and what they do. But women have the extra one of putting it together. So, for example, I've been married. My wife would just tell me, Henry, don't do that. As a man, my question is, why? She says, just don't do it. And I've been married enough to realize that 99.9%
she's right.
Right. And it is that 6th sense called intuition. Not that men don't have intuition, but the level of intuition in women is way up there. That's why somewhere in the Bible said, women protect their husband. God give a wife to a man so that the man is protected in many senses, because they can feel it before it gets there. But with a man, they'll be walking right into it. Until they experience it, it has not happened.
Yeah.
Now, tagging back on the question as to the differences in emotional acumen when people are married. 2 things. Number 1, there is that tendency where all people in this universe are divided into 2 major classes. We call them the introverts and the extrovert. As the name sounds, introvert means into. Extrovert means out, extra. So introverts are people that normally want to process things inside, and they normally will go out of their comfort zone to express their feeling. Extroverts, they get into the room with their mouth first. Before they get there, you hear them talking. And they can light the whole room up with talks, on and on and on. Now, this can be further subdivided, but just to stay on course. So, if you look at this, and then the very further, another layer is added where society or culture expect men to be able to internalize their emotion, and that any expression of emotion is a sign of weakness, it becomes unbearable. So if you're a man that falls under the introvert category, and now society is also telling you,
definitely don't express it.
don't express it. We are double
You are
silence.
doomed.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and you know, as a pastor, you counsel a lot of couples. I'm sure a lot of people bring their marital issues
That's
to
true.
you, and when it comes to marriage, when it comes to these issues, as far as the physical,
Right.
you can easily see it.
That's right.
It is right there in your face.
Right.
But the emotion piece is where I think a lot of couples struggle with, right? Because you talk about even men not knowing how to express their emotions, except if maybe they are angry.
Right.
If they are angry, clearly you see
That's
it.
right.
Physiological
That's right.
imbalance, you know, stress level is through the roof.
That's right.
Pressure is up there. You can easily see it. And then there are those who are just indifferent. They don't show no emotions, right? Which I can imagine would be the worst case scenario.
Deadly.
Is where they are not happy for you.
Right.
They are not mad at you. They are not angry at you.
They just
nothing. Nothing. So couples who find themselves in that kind of situation, how do they bounce back? How do they get themselves out of this situation where they are indifferent, or maybe they have lack of emotional intimacy? Is that what is causing people to be disconnected in that sense?
Right. Very great question. Thank you for that. And I believe it's going to help a lot of people, because if you look at the divorce rate nowadays, it's going up through the roof. 50% going. And the worst part of it is that even within the church, within Christendom, you realize that it's matching up with the divorce rate in the world. So it tells me that it's not a religion problem. It's a humanity problem. You know, and let me look at it from 3 ways. Number one, emotional connectivity is not something that is given for free, so to speak. What God does is He gives us the basis or the seed. Our job is to be intentional about it. It's just like a farmer. You need to get a piece of land, cultivate it, sow the seed, make sure there's some rain falling on it, and all those factors in order for it to grow. So the reason why married people sometimes experience emotional drain is that, number one, their concept of emotional connectivity is that it happens automatically, but it doesn't.
You have to work it.
You have to work it.
Yeah.
And there is this thing that they call bindness. And bindness is based on the fact that it's just like the principle of how oceans are formed. It comes like from a fountain or lakes. It's just a little drop of water. And you remember the saying, little drops of water
Make the mighty ocean. Yeah.
As long as it's a tickling and it's continuous,
Yeah.
Angie,
Yeah.
it's going to be wondrous.
Yeah.
So what people need to do is find an emotional connection. Some of them are just talking to your
Spouse,
partner.
and you build it.
Build it. You know, it builds itself, but you got to initiate it. Some of it is just a genuine care for the person. Problems comes, but it's not a problem that makes the difference. It's how you deal with the problem.
Right.
So finding out about genuinely how your partner is feeling, those little things go in a long way to lay a foundation for that emotional connectivity.
Yeah. And I think naturally, if you truly cares about somebody,
Right.
you are going to make the conscious effort to build on that emotional connection. I like the fact that you said it doesn't automatically happen, right? Just because you marry someone doesn't mean you are emotionally connected to that person. And actually, you can be emotionally connected to somebody, and over time, you can drift apart if you do not nurture it,
That's
right? So,
right.
classic
That's the
example.
word. Right.
But for couples who do not check in throughout the day,
Right.
you are spending 8 hours, 10 hours at your job places.
Right.
You are dealing with all kinds of external
That's
factors and forces, and, you know, things that are affecting and bombarding your day-to-day
Right.
job. So when you come home and you are exhausted,
Right.
you don't have the time to connect with your spouse.
true.
And because you haven't connected with your spouse during the whole day,
Right.
how is your spouse going to pick up your energy to
Right.
even know where to start? They have no gauge of where you are emotionally to
That's
even
true.
tap into
That's
that.
true. What a practical way to describe what is going on nowadays, and it's affecting all kind of relationship. But listen, there's always solution, and I want to look at it from two angles. I want to lay the basis for the theory, and then I'll come to the practical part. There is this concept called emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, simply put, is the ability to feel each other, as you were saying, and determine where each other is emotionally. You know, so you can look at your spouse, your children, or family at large, and if your emotional intelligence is working really good, you have a sense that things are not right, just by the way they carry themselves, the way they talk. And what emotional intelligence does is that it gives you the platform to be able to connect with your better half, who has been given to you by God to make your roses grow, to make your garden, be beautiful. Now, I say there are two relationships in this world. That with God. And if you take God out, the next one is with your spouse. They are the pillar, you know, and statistics prove it a lot. Now, how do you do practically in order to keep this moving? There are about 10 of them, but I'll probably talk about a few. The first one is that you cannot give what you don't have.
Right. That emotional capacity.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
But it all starts also with building a capacity for, you have to be healthy. You know, so it starts off with partners who understand that it starts with a good physical body, a sound mind, and a great spirit. And how do you do it? You should plan to exercise together. Keep yourself healthy. That's the basis.
Oh, yeah.
Because-
Physical
oh my
dimension of wellness, that is key.
These are all interconnected, you know. So with that, then the next level is also ability to listen. Sometimes people complain that my spouse doesn't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
But if you break it down, the reason is that you don't want to listen. Because life is such that whatever you give gets back
It's
to
like
you.
energy.
It's energy,
Yeah,
you know?
energy flow. Yeah.
Right. So if you have that to be able to listen, you are also listening to, you know. And then there is other things like understanding that nowadays communication is not just verbal.
Yes.
Communication is the way you carry yourself, a look, a gesture. It communicates a lot. So let people understand, teach people to know, to take charge of their communication method.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because even, you know, just to add into that, if you have a strong emotional connection with somebody, in this case your spouse, you both can be on the couch and you will feel comfortable with the silence. Right? There's a lot of people who get very awkward when there is no exchange of verbal communication. People feel like we should always be talking. But no, but if there is a strong emotional intimacy between you guys, you both can relax on the couch and the energy just feels right. When the energy feels off, when you are both quiet, that's a red flag.
That's right.
You should be looking into why is there a tension or a weird energy if you are, you know, when you are married, you're going to argue with your spouse. You're going to fight a little bit, right? And if you think about the days that you guys argue and you are both silent, that awkward energy that's in the air, it's like, you know, it's very, very unsettling. But take out argument out of this equation. If you are not arguing and everything is good and you know you are both emotionally connected, then talk about non-verbal cues. It's not a problem.
That's right.
Have you experienced that before? Do you know what I'm saying?
My lovely wife has been on vacation for the longest, and she goes through a lot, I mean, in terms of work. So it's good. I love it. I love it. And I have people asking me, how do you deal with that? And I tell them, there's a secret between us. We don't have to physically see each other to be connected.
Right.
We are connected on the emotional level.
Yeah.
Some people may call it telepathy, but I say a higher level.
Right. Supernatural pathy.
I connect and she connect.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that feeling where
It's
you
there.
are. It's like, you know, and I normally will say that the highest level of communication, you know, when you get married after a while, you don't even need to open your mouth.
Yeah.
Your eyes, your eyebrow can do the talking for you. Even your nose. You know, sometimes, especially preachers, you are there up on the platform and you preaching, you look at your wife. Just
they are telling you something.
You know.
Yeah, if it's going well, or if it's not going well.
And sometimes it's even more than that. I mean, slow down.
Yeah.
Go up.
Yeah.
Behave. You know. So these are all
It's beautiful.
It is. It is. So I think we should aim for that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the Bible says that the two has become one. And you really have become one. You know, there is also this idea of soulmate and another higher level.
Twin flame.
Twin flame. Oh, ah. And you know, when Adam was created, Eve was inside Adam.
So she came straight out of him.
They took him out.
Yeah.
And all the emotional, energy that came out, the whoa that Adam said, whoa. And then out of that, she named him a woman. She just, it was full of energy.
Yeah.
You know? So all those things are, it boils with communication, but communication comes in different packages. You know, a time will come, even when your children are around, just a wink. And it's a whole book.
It's a whole
between two people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So now you mentioned soulmates.
Right.
So I'm gonna bring it in the conversation because a lot of couples out there are always wondering, did I marry my soulmates? As a pastor, what do you have to say to that?
And then I always answer by saying, soulmate for what?
Soulmate for what?
For what? And the reason I say that is, look at this picture. Adam's marriage was, quote unquote, from a soulmate. Guess who gave him the soulmate? The omnipotent, God himself. But how did it end? They were the reason why we're going through what we went through.
Woe to the woman.
The woe that was woman, that was beautiful, became a negative woe.
Yeah.
You know, so my point is that whether soulmate or not, the results is almost the same.
Right.
It's marriage. Whatever you got, make the best out of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people hide under this concept of, I didn't marry my soulmate, that's why I'm going through all that I went through.
Right.
As Adam, he married his soulmate. Look at what he went through.
Yeah.
So it all boils down to knowing the mechanism. You know, and the mechanism begin with understand that you are not perfect. And that you can make the best out of whatever situation. Communication is a factor. Understanding each other is a factor. And as you keep working at it, a time will come you will grow. They said the first 5 years of every marriage is the challenge. After that, there is no reason.
Sailing.
There is no reason.
Yeah, but a lot of couples are divorcing 20 years after marriage.
Right.
Right? To me, I rather, you know, it's so sad that you see a lot of people start off their marriage with high intensity, emotions through the roof. The love is there, and then it gets dwindled down, right? But then, wouldn't you rather see that your marriage, you actually end up growing to love your spouse more years down the road because you've gone through life, you've gone through things, you know, talking about emotions, you know, like even couples who, God forbid, even suffer from child loss, miscarriage, infertility, or even their child is grown to a certain age and God calls them home. So you've experienced these things, or death of a parent, a sister, brother, mother, whatever. And because you've experienced all of these things, or even sometimes bankruptcy, right? Or even you've experienced some financial hardship, all of these things that happen to us in life that causes us to go through these emotions. So it's not always, I'm your wife, you're my husband, and you caused me this pain, or you caused me this hurt, but rather an external factor caused the hurt or the pain, or you both experience a loss, huge grief. And so these external factors have contributed to this dynamic of your marriage. And so when we talk about emotions, it's not only just you hurting me or you not paying attention to my emotional needs. It's how do you help me get through what is it that I've experienced.
That's right. That concept of you hurt me or who hurt me, I always call it a facade. And the reason I say that is because people grow up with their family background. And because of that, everybody, during their formative period, there are certain things that is a trigger. You know, we call them emotional triggers. You know, some may go to the extent of call it emotional baggage. You know, there is something that, for example, married people, some are thought that when you take a simple thing like a toothpaste, you press it from the
end.
back end.
Others
Somebody
from
do it from
front.
the middle. And this can cause emotional volcano in the house. You know, and it's based off on the background of the person. You know, so those things, whether it's external or internal, they are something that is inside you that is triggered by circumstances. The question is, how do you handle it? The fact that you choose Angie or Henry to be your partner means that you have resolve. And out of all the men, out of all the women in this world,
billions of people in this world,
is the person that I'm going to go through with. That's why it's very painful when you cannot resolve things. So marriage to me is two things. It's either a heaven or a prison. You know.
And a lot of people are alone in their marriage.
Trapped.
Right?
Trapped. And all because of this emotional misunderstanding. You see, because emotion is you. It's how you feel, how you think, and how you reason. You know, so you got to have somebody to go along with you. Now, one of the best ways to be able to deal with that is understanding the communication language or the love language of your partner.
Spouse,
Most people are clueless to that. Research has been made, books have been written that there are about 5 different love languages. So if I don't speak your language and you are speaking that to me you are a foreigner. And the only way to cope with that is to build a bridge. You know, so that's why there are some marriages with a lot of bridges. People get emotionally mundane, you know, separated. And then it ends up killing a lot of good stuff. So, for example, let's rush through. There is the love language of affirmation. There are some people, to get them started, just tell them how beautiful
they are. You
they
got
are.
to praise them.
You know?
Yeah.
Everybody loves to be, but some people, it doesn't matter. Some people, they need it. They feed off on that. Oh, honey, you look sharp. And
Pastor, as for the suit, you are unstoppable.
You are on top of the world. And once my wife or I hear that from, who cares about what the boss said?
Right.
My better half said, I am the most prettiest. There's a joke that says that Bible said that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And somebody looked at it and said, honestly speaking, some people fit into the first one. They
are fearful.
Made. And some are wonderfully made. But beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Yes.
So if my better half affirms me and tell me I'm pretty, I don't care what you say. I'm not dressing for you. I'm dressing for him or for her. You know, so if you understand that your partner's language is affirmation, you give it to them.
And just to add on to this, just because you brought that point though, but there are some guys,
Right.
they know very well
Right.
that their wife's, love language
Right.
is words of affirmation,
Okay.
compliments, all of that. And no matter how pretty up women,
Wow.
will get dressed up. Women, we like to look pretty.
That's right.
That's why we spend a lot of money on our hair and our makeup and all of that.
we love it. That's why we give you the money.
But some guys would just not even acknowledge it, right? They would act like they have not even seen their wife get dressed up.
Right.
But yet when they go out there, they will go and compliment somebody else's wife or somebody else's girl or somebody else's sister, right? And so how frustrating can that be for the woman? Talk about the emotional wellness of the wife. When the wife can experience some man just praising other women outside. We go to church.
Right.
We see all kinds of women
Right.
come and dressed up and look all pretty.
Right.
And maybe you see your husband, hey, Sister Joy, you looking fabulous today. You looking nice today. I like that dress. I like that shoe. I like that. But then you, the wife, you never hear one compliment from that husband of yours. Emotionally, you are going to internalize that and think maybe you are not pretty enough. Or maybe you are not desirable, worse even for a woman.
Right. And that is a lie from the pit of hell. Because marriage is the first institution. And God created it in order to serve as the basis for every kind of development. The enemy is after it. So the enemy throws in all kind of curveballs to work against that institution, number one. And number two, I think there are certain men who have that mentality that praising my wife is going to make her feel proud, something.
You know, gas her up.
Out of some old culture misgiving, which has no basis. I was even thinking that maybe the guy doesn't know how to praise women. But if you have the audacity in my presence to go and praise somebody publicly, then what are you trying to mean?
Right.
That reminds me of the woman that goes to the man and says, how come I never hear, I love you?
Yeah.
You never say it.
Yeah.
The man says, honey, remember the wedding day when we shared the vow? I looked into the camera and said, I love you. Wow. When I change my mind, I'll let you know. So dumb.
So dumb.
Love, like I said, it's a feeling. The women want to hear it. It goes through their head and it changes things. It makes them feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it keeps things moving.
Yeah.
So sometimes men do that out of either ignorance or sheer wickedness, or sometimes too, the women might be doing the same thing over and over again. So, if a man can look at somebody else and say, because praising somebody, it comes effusively, naturally. You don't have to think about it. If the person looks
nice, they look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe sometime...
Like as soon as you walk into the house, I said, Pastor, I'm liking your suit. You looking on point.
You put on your dress and say, look at my daughter.
You
on
see
another
it.
place. You see?
Yeah.
Just put words to it.
Right,
And this is very important you bring this point up because these are the little foxes that destroy the vineyard.
Yeah.
Sometimes this thing will cascade. Women. Women, like you said, have the acumen to be able to know exactly what you said to help them. 50, 80 years. They can tell you how you were sitting, the dress you were wearing, the tone. It's like camera picture in their head. So these little things, if we don't pay attention to them, they become the basis.
Right.
And with time, you depress somebody precious, somebody that was given to you to give you joy,
And you can even stunt their confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes women marry, or even men too, right? You marry and you have all these confidence in the world, and then because of certain things that have transpired in your marriage, you realize that your confidence have gone down, your self-esteem have gone down because your husband or your wife is constantly putting you down, demeaning you and belittling you and not making you feel like you matter, right? So talk about couples taking care of each other's emotional well-being. It's just how we communicate with each other. Or even when there's an argument, the as far as tone, where they will raise their voice to, the way they will behave. And it talk about individuals come from different backgrounds. If they are not used to that, then they cave in.
That's right.
And they become fearful.
Right.
And once they become fearful, they retreat to a space where maybe childhood hurts or trauma, it all triggers back up, like you were saying earlier.
Very, very true. Yeah, so it all boils back to what we talk about, that learning the love language of your partner is important. Words of affirmation, some love gifts. If your wife doesn't love gift, I remember my wife, she loves helping out, talking to her. I like gifts, you know. So when we married first, you know, when you are coming from Africa, you have that mentality that to be prosperous, you have to drive Mercedes and all that stuff. So I have that picture. And I remember when I started a job as a realtor, the first deal I had, they call it DUA. You represent both the buyer and the seller. So I had, I think, about 40,000 or something. Guess what I did? I went to the Mercedes. My wife, she's just a simple, God-fearing, practical lady. She picked up the phone and called the Mercedes people. My husband is coming. I told him not to come, but you know, man, he's coming. When he gets there, don't sell him any Mercedes. Describe. So when I got there, they said, "You, Henry?" I said, "Yeah." So your wife called and she didn't say that. I said, "Make a choice. You're not the only Mercedes here. There's a couple of them on the road. I can go there. Yeah, we got you. We got you. You know? So what am I trying to communicate? If her idea is not fanciness, don't give it to her.
Right.
Because you will be making any road.
It is true. You know, like for me, I do not like flowers.
Okay.
And Niddle knows that.
Okay.
And when we first met.
What is it about flowers that you don't like?
I think it's, I'll tell you later. But, you know, just like a guy, right? At the time, I'm 22. He is, what, 26, 7 or whatever.
Right.
You know, and you think to be romantic, I'm going to buy her flowers.
There you go.
And after 2 flowers, I sat him down and said, "Listen, honey.
Don't waste no flowers.
Don't get me flowers." Or he will go buy necklace.
Okay.
Anybody that knows me, you would, if you ever see me with a necklace, you let me know, because I do not like the necklace, right? But he will go to, you know, the jewelry store, go buy. I have a couple of necklaces that I've never worn, and it's one of these I'm gonna take it to the pawn shop.
There you go and pawn it out.
But I had to tell him. Right, but I told him that, listen, don't get me flowers.
Okay.
I'm not, but some other women, they love flowers. You don't give them flowers, it's a problem.
Right.
You don't love me. But to me, you give me flowers. What? I've told you 9 years ago, I don't like flowers. So now he understands not to give me flowers.
There you go.
I like other things.
That's right.
Other things that I like, and I've told him what I like, and so
he knows.
He does that. He knows that he does that. So I appreciate you saying that. People need to understand the love language, but then individuals also have to hear it, right? They have to listen and honor it. Because if you don't honor it, and let's say every time I come home there's flowers, that's gonna piss me off.
It is.
Because you're not listening to me.
And that is the problem with men, because they think they're doing everything. I'm doing everything for this woman. I built him her house. I did this. She doesn't appreciate. That is not her love language. Figure out what her love language. Some women, all they need is a quality time.
Yes.
Sit them down.
Yes.
When we say quality time, it just means engaging.
Engage, yes.
You forgot everything in the world except concentrate on. It makes them grow.
Yes.
It makes them feel a sense of belonging.
Yes.
And the fact that they appreciate it.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that is killing us. You know, and if we can learn the love languages of each other. Some women, all they want is, you wake up early in the morning, you go to the shower with all the mess, "I love you." She comes in there, sees that.
Oh
she's
my
in a
God,
glow.
she's done.
Pick up a pillow, under it, there is a small, card. honey, I can't do anything without you.
Yeah.
And you mean it with some drawing, and that opens them up.
Right. And that alone is building emotional intimacy, emotional connection.
Yes.
And so, yes, I don't think we can stress the fact that the art of building emotional intimacy truly is an art.
It is.
You know,
It is.
there's some level of science to it maybe, but truly it's figuring it out, you put a little white paint here, green paint here, and before you know it, you are creating something beautiful, and you are creating something that is long lasting that you both would enjoy. But for people who are in a relationship, in a marriage where they feel alone because their partner has checked out.
Okay.
They have checked out. They've done everything. There's nothing that is bringing their partner back. But, they are emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
How do they heal from that?
Honestly speaking, for that to happen, there is a cause. There's always a reason for that to happen. So you just want to go back to the days that you met. I'm sure that it will be very hard to, on your date, if you realize your spouse or your partner to be that you are dating is emotionally checked out, for you to carry it to another level. You won't do that.
Some people have done it.
Some people have done it. They must be magical.
Thinking that the person will change. For some reason, people think that marriage changes individuals. But all that marriage does is it amplifies whatever your problem.
But honestly, wouldn't there be at least an iota or a little basis for you to build on?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Imagine we go on a date. You go in the, who do you think you are? And then there's a fight. And the person leaves. The probability that if this continues and become a pattern, you guys are going to get together, it's a little bit, I know people sacrifice and do things that is out of the old, that is there. But when it comes to emotional connectivity, there has to be a basis for it, So this is what I would say. Now, number one, sit down, figure out what went wrong along the path.
Where did we stop talking or connecting? Yeah.
And honesty is the best policy. Being honest about something. They said understanding the question is half the solution. And then you should also care about the person enough.
Right.
Sometimes what a woman or a man is waiting for is an affection, a care, a fact that you care.
Or just even acknowledge and validate their feelings, whatever it is.
I heard this sad story of a woman who was married, and busyness of life was so much that when he was coming in, she probably was leaving. So they didn't get to, have that emotional intelligence working. Not knowing the woman has been diagnosed, with cancer for 6 months. And these people have been sleeping on the same bed.
And he had no clue.
He had no idea.
Yeah.
Had no idea. And the wives also didn't want to alarm the husband. So the time the doctor gave that at this time you were about to die.
So that is so interesting though, Pastor, because, and when we talk about emotional intimacy.
Right.
And that is the part that I want to stress about, right? Is for people to even have that emotional intimacy. Into me, you see, intimacy, right? Is I have to be able to feel safe.
Right.
I have to be able to get vulnerable with you.
Right.
And if one partner cannot get vulnerable with the other, it's hard for them to express and be transparent and share what is it that is really going on with them. Right? So you use this classic example. Lady get diagnosed with cancer, husband have no idea. The question becomes, how come he had no idea? Did he not have an idea because he just don't care? talk about this whole indifferent
Right.
thing, or certain things, situations, experiences, scenarios have happened in their life
Right.
together
Right.
that have caused the lady to withdraw
Right.
and hold back information because maybe once upon a time she shared something
Right.
and it was not well received, and because it wasn't received well, she didn't like the response she got,
Right.
and so now she refuses to even share moving forward any information that actually in this case would affect the husband too, because
Right.
it's an illness,
Right.
and both parties are going to shoulder this responsibility. Somebody got to take care of this lady if and when she gets to a position where she's unable to
Right.
take care of herself.
No. And life is such that people know how to balance equations, but once you're living with somebody, you automatically know how to live at peace, quote unquote, with that person. If somebody don't want to be bothered, you know. Automatically you build your own nest as to how to communicate. So for this woman to go through such a disaster, so to speak,
An ordeal.
and keep it from the husband, sleeping on the same bed for 6 months, and for the husband even not to have the inkling or the feeling that there's something wrong with my wife. I wouldn't be surprised if he is the cause of the cancer, the stress.
He is the cancer.
Him? Couldn't have said it any
He
better.
is the cancer.
And people die slowly from this
Yes.
kind of instances, where there is emotional detachment, and they feel like they are alone in this world. There's nobody to care.
Yeah.
So I might as well die.
Yeah.
I might as well check out.
And there's nothing worse than feeling alone in a marriage. Nothing
my
worse. But, now let's get ready to wrap it up. But I want to talk about, at the same time, too, while there's all these negative emotional feelings,
Right.
there are the positive side, right? So on the flip side, when you are married,
Right.
you're supposed to be happy.
Right.
Feel all this joy,
Right.
the birth of your first child, second child,
Right.
third child, whatever, graduations, birthday parties, anniversaries, all of these life occasions, milestones that bring us happiness.
Right.
And when you have someone to share these milestones, life events
That's
with,
right.
then you can become happy.
That's
and that's really what life is about.
That's true. That's very true. And you said it, during the course of the discussion. Marriage is not, you don't marry somebody out of sympathy. You don't do somebody a favor by marrying them. You marry somebody because you love them. And it has been found out that whatever you start, it's not going to change.
Right.
It's, the very fact that you have that concept that, if we marry, things will be better. No. Whatever start is either going to grow or you take it from there. So sometimes people marry with that mindset that although there's not that connection, it's going to be well, it will grow, it will grow.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
If you don't have the connection now, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Run.
Don't do it. Because
Don't
you
do it.
end up putting somebody in prison.
Yes.
And
Yes. yes.
sometimes it's not like the person is a bad person. It's just that you guys
Just don't click.
just don't click.
You just don't
and you
click.
can't do anything about it.
Right.
You didn't
Right.
create yourself.
Right. It's compatibility.
Compatibility.
That's the word. Yeah.
So you have to know that you know that you know. I remember one of the questions my wife asked me is that, how do you know I am the one for you? I said, I know. I know that I know. It has to be like, this is your daughter.
Yeah.
Do you need any proof
Yeah.
for somebody to prove to you that Taylor is your daughter?
No.
No.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, right? Because I've asked Neto that same very
Okay.
question. But funny enough, the guys never ask the women that question. Isn't that interesting? I don't Neto have never asked me, how do you know I'm the one? But I've asked him 20 million times, like, how do you know? And he gives me the same answer. Matter of fact, he tells me, because I pray to God, and God told me many years ago that I'm going to be in Albany. And I had no idea that you were the reason why I was going to Albany.
Wow.
But now I know you are the reason why I was going to Albany.
So further to explain it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, guys, it ever crosses our mind to go and ask, yo, why? How do you know I am?
Maybe they should ask, why did you say yes to me? Why did you say yes when I asked you to marry me?
That itself is a test that you have passed. You don't want to revisit it.
Yeah.
Then the woman will say, I made a mistake. You don't want to hear that.
I should have said yes. So, maybe don't ask. You got to make sure you are picking the right time to ask, right? Because if you go and ask at the wrong time, you might get
you might get it all ransacked and packaged and given back to you. But I think it all gets back to this thing we talk about. Men from Mars, women from Venus. Women, they are feeling being. Everything about them is emotion. I mean, most part.
Yeah.
And men are also taught otherwise. Be stable, be rational, think, and all that
logical,
stuff. So to a man, why am I going to even say? It won't pop up in your thinking spree to go and ask somebody, why did you marry?
Like we women, we want to know. We want to know, out of all the beautiful women out there, why me, right? And sometimes it's the whole validation, and because we want to feel so happy, we want to feel special, that we just like to ask. Like I like to ask all the time. It's like, tell me again, why me? But it's because we are emotional beings. That's how we are wired. That's how we thrive. And when we are deprived of that, then really you are not helping to take care of our emotional well-being. Wow. So when it comes to emotions, Pastor, we can talk about this all day.
Night.
What a joy it has been engaging in this conversation with you. And I hope that our viewers, would really learn how to connect with their spouses. It is not too late, right? It's not too late.
It's never too late.
Once you got married to begin with, there was something. If it wasn't an arranged marriage, right, and you truly chose each other, there was something. And so no matter what happened over the course of the years, no matter what, life threw at you, as long as you are both still under the same roof, it's not too late. You can certainly re-energize that connection and even maybe go to counseling. Right? Find a trusted pastor or a trusted therapist and go to couples therapy and talk through your issues. Because sometimes, real quick, from what I've heard, because I have a lot of friends who are, in the therapy business. And when couples go to couple therapy, they start to unpack all these emotions and share all these things. And you realize the other person, it's like, wow, I had no idea that's how you felt. Really? That's how you felt this whole time. How come you never told me? Well, they never told you because they never felt safe enough to tell you.
Because they were angry at you. So they felt that there's always a need for a third person. That's why I say there's God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You got to be three, And as we were talking, this thought came to my mind. They say the way to a man's heart is through the stomach. But the way to the woman's heart is through the ear. Women like to hear sweet things. That's why they ask questions, And it's not that they want the answer. They like the process of you describing to them. It brings memories. They want you to bring it back. And that feeling alone take them to another level. Oh, for the patient. For men to have patience with their wife. And know that nothing better will happen to you without your wife, and vice versa. And if we can pass that test, then all other tests will fall in place. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you came for us to talk about this thing. When it comes to marriage, like I said earlier, the physical piece is easy. You see it. But the emotional piece sometimes are oftentimes overlooked and not talked about. Meanwhile, that is where a lot of people, a lot of marriage couples are suffering and dying inside and have no outlet to share. And sometimes people even confined in the wrong person, and then before you know, your marital issues are on the road and the streets, and nobody wants that. So I thank you for coming, Pastor Ganser. Thank you. I hope we can come back later and discuss other dimensions that marriage have effects on: career, finance, even social. Right? That's another component. A whole different topic. The families, the friends, the support system that we keep around outside the marriage, and the effects that it has on the whole marriage. So again, viewers, thank you all for watching, and thank you for listening to our conversation today. We hope you find it very insightful, and we are trusting that God will lead your marriage in the path that is designed for. As our pastor said, it is an institution by God. It's a beautiful institution that we hope that by the grace of God, you would be able to withstand the challenges of marriage, but more importantly, be equipped with the tools needed to manage your emotions and be able to also help manage your spouse's emotions, so that you can always be on the same page and keep developing and growing in love. Go in peace, and until next time, remember, our truths are best lived when we dare the moments. Take care.
Thank you for watching this episode. To continue with the conversation, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell or notification button to be notified every time new videos get uploaded. Also, click thumbs up to like the video and follow our Instagram and Facebook pages to catch up on all the conversations.